Why? What could be the minimum two reasons for this variance, favorable or adverse, whatever? What could be two reasons? Like in material, I told you that if you use more material than required, it will result in a variance. If you buy material at lesser price or more price than estimated one, there will be a variance. So similarly, in case of labor also, there can be two reasons for variance. What could be those two reasons? Yes. One, whatever you estimated, you will pay them at the rate of rupees 10 per hour. You might have paid them at the rate of rupees 9 or 11. One reason. Another reason,
more labor required.
और बताइए और क्या रीजन हो सकता? It is more related to the time, isn't it? When you produce something, so labor requires a certain time. Let us say in 1 hour they are producing 10 units. So this is what your estimate was. Hourly, each labor will be producing 10 units. If they produce more than 10 units in an hour or less than 10 units in an hour, it is bound to result in a variance. That means in case of material, primarily there will be two reasons. Either prices would differ, or quantity would differ, or both would differ in some way or the other, causing a variance. In case of labor, either the rate that you thought of differs, or the quantity, the hours which you thought of also differ, or a combination of these two will be resulting in a variance. Now, how about overhead cost? You know the meaning of overhead cost, which are not directly proportional to the volume of production, such as the rent of factory, or general manager's salary, or anything which is not directly proportional to the volume of sales. So there can be several reasons for a change in overhead costs. So whenever it changes, there'll be a variance. As we move along, we will see how to find out variances with respect to price, with respect to quantity, with respect to rate, with respect to hours, and so on and so forth. So if this part is clear at this stage, I'll take you on to the next slide. If you wish to ask anything more about this slide, I'll stay on here and explain. If not, then I'll move on to the next one.
So you can move ahead.
Okay. Now we come to the third stage of analysis. In the preceding slide, I told you that it can be due to the rate, or it can be due to the quantity. See, material, first of all, if we talk about material, your estimate was that in order to produce 1000 complete units, you will require 2 parts of material X each, 3 parts of material Y each. They will be available at the rate of rupees 2 per part, and also Y also at the rate of 2 per part. This was your standard. That to make, see, when I say 2 components or 2 parts, this, for the simplicity of calculation, has been taken. You think of any product, there'll be several parts. You think of pencil, you think of pen, you think of laptop, you think of mobile phone, you think of a car. There'll be hundreds and hundreds of cars, hundreds and hundreds of components. Each there'll be a set estimate that these components will be used in this quantity. Or in case of chemical company, I mean, think of any product or service, you will find several components will make up a product. Let us say furniture you are sitting on. So you have wood, you have paint, you have nails, say minimum these 3. Think of any other item, you will find various components in various quantity. This is what this 2 is referring here. And this is per unit or per component cost. So this is what your estimate was. Now, in reality, and how much units you are supposed to produce? 1000 complete units. So when you are producing 1000 complete units, your data shows that you have used 2500 components or 2500 parts. Let me use the same word, 2500 parts, so that there is no confusion. 2500 parts of X you have used and 2500 parts of Y you have used. And in practice, you paid rupees 2 per part for X and 2.2 for Y. Looking at this standard and actual data, what will be your total cost? In this case, total cost will be 10,000 because two components you thought each is available at 2 to 4. For how many? For 1000 complete unit, you will have 6,000 rupees. Similarly, 3 parts of Y, each available at rupees 2 to rupees 6. 6 times 1000 will give you 10,000. Similarly, 2,500 components each at the rate of rupees 2, 5,000, and 2,500 times 2.2, it will be 5,500, and total will be 10,500. So there is a variance of rupees 500. The same variance you had here also, adverse. So this variance is verified. Means in case of material, there were two reasons for a variance. Either prices are different, or quantity is different, or both are different. When I say different, I mean both are different compared to the estimated one or a standard one. There's a difference between, look here what is happening. Your estimate was 2000. We are talking about the quantity. Your estimate was 2000. How many you have used?
2,500.
500. So there's a variance. Your estimate was how many units? 3,000.
3,000 parts.
Because for 1,000 complete units, each at 3, your estimate was 3,000, and you are using 2,500. In fact, there are 4 different reasons for the variance. One, the quantity is different. In this case, prices are not 2 and 2. But in case of Y, quantity is different and also prices are different. You estimated 2. In reality, you have bought at 2.2. It could be 2.2. It could be 1.8. More or less. Similarly, there is a case of labor also. Your estimate was that in order to produce complete 1,000 units, 2,000 skilled hours will be required. You may have labor of different quality category, highly skilled, semi-skilled, technical labor, manual labor. There can be different. For the simplicity of calculations, we have taken only 2. So in order to produce 1,000 complete part of a particular product, your estimate was that 2,000 of skill hours will be required, and each will be paid at the rate of rupees 1.5 per hour. So your total cost will become, standard cost would become 3,000. Your estimate was that you will require 3,000 unskilled hours. Each you will pay at the rate of rupee 1. So your total standard labor cost should have been 6,000. Your estimate was. When you compiled the data in reality, you realized that you have spent 3,000 rupees for 1,500 skilled hours. So how many hours, at what rate did you pay? When you compiled data, you noted that 3,000 rupees have been spent, and workers, skilled category workers, have worked for 1,500 hours.
Sir, 2 rupees.
The 2 rupees per hour.
Actually, rate was 2. Standard rate was
1.50.
1.50. Correct. Now come to the unskilled category. Your estimate was that you will pay them at the rate of rupee 1 per hour. And how much you have paid? Plus rupees 2,000 for 3,500 unskilled hours. So 1.75 you are paying, isn't it? So actual cost becomes 5,000, and standard cost was 6,000. There's a variance of rupees 1,000. This is standard. This variance is favorable. You thought, you estimated your standard was 6,000. You will spend on labor, but in reality, how much have you spent? 5,000. So there is a variance 1,000. Overhead was 4,000. In reality, you have spent 4,500. There is a negative or adverse overhead. So what we have done at third stage, once again, I go back to the first slide. Here, the decision was no need to go further. Here, it gave us some insight. Okay, there is a variance, but one variance is compensating the other. If it was not known, had we not reached the second stage, we would not have realized that we are overspending 500 in case of material compared to our estimates. We are saving 1000 on labor compared to our estimate, and we are once again overspending 500. If you know that there is a variance, only then you will know the reasons. Once you know the reasons, only then you can exercise control. All right. So, but this too was not enough. This 10,000 or this 500, why we have got 5,000 variance? Again, because of two reasons. Prices were different than we estimated. The quantity was different than we estimated. Number of hours needed by workers were different than we estimated. And the rate at which we have paid to different categories of workers also deviated. Also, there was a variance in these. Therefore, we needed to. Is that all right? Then there can be the fourth stage of analysis. Okay, before I go to the fourth stage of analysis, just refer to the summary that is present here. For example, how much was your overall cost variance?
Nil.
Nil, correct. Zero or nil, correct. Material cost variance was adverse by 500. It was favorable by 1000. It was adverse by 500. So it is reconciled. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
At each stage, you will go for reconciliation. Now come to the material part. Two categories. One, material cost variance is equal to material usage variance and material rate variance. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Quantity and price.
Yes. Material usage means quantity and rate means price.
Price.
Either rate or right price, usage or right quantity. Usage. So within bracket you can write quantity, and here within bracket what you can write? Price. All right. And similarly, material usage variance can have further. In order to find out material usage variance, the formula I have given. Material usage variance, how have we found out? Standard usage minus actual usage into standard rate. What was your standard usage? 2000 or estimated usage. And what was your actual usage?
2500.
When it is multiplied by standard rate, you get 500 adverse. All right. Material usage variance of Y component or Y part. 3000 was the standard, 2500 was actual, multiplied by standard price, you get 500 favorable. So overall material usage variance is a 0. So if you come to this stage, material variance is okay, but material use into 2, that is material usage and material rate. So this gives you further insight. What insight it is giving you? That when it comes to quantity or the usage, you are using more than you estimated. And when it comes to prices, you are paying less than what you were supposed to pay. And one is compensating the other. One is offsetting the other. And although there is a variance, had you not taken up this kind of analysis, you would have been in the dark. You would have simply thought a material usage variance is satisfactory. Although it is not. Why it is not? Because there's a variance in usage, there's a variance in component
Price.
X, there's a variance, component Y, there's a variance, and one is compensating the other. So there can be many reasons for the variance. For example, just because we are at the slide of material variance, it can be because of rate, it can be because of quantity, it can be because of rate in one component and quantity in another, or vice versa. In reality, you do not have only 2 or 3 components. In reality, look at any product, you have several parts, and we exercise control on each one of these only once we calculate. So as we move along, as we go on and on, it gives us a further insight. Now here, like I have calculated or I have shown you the material usage variance based on that data. We, if the data is available there, we can calculate labor. Just I'm writing it. Calculate labor time and rate variance on your own. Now, what you are required to do? Calculate this on your own. Data is available. What data do you require? Standard hours and actual hours. Standard hours are given. Actual hours are given. What more you require? Standard rate. Standard rate and actual rate both are given. When you calculate labor variance, overall labor variance, what should be your ultimate answer? Ultimate answer should be 1000 favorable. Favorable. You will note that this 1000 favorable could be the ultimate result of some favorable variance in case of skilled or some unfavorable variance in case of unskilled or vice versa. This 1000 could be a result of now minimum 4. What are those minimum 4 factors? Number 1, the times workers might have taken more or less time. Number 1. Number 2, you might have paid more or less than the estimated. Number 3, skilled workers would have been paid more or less, or skilled workers would have taken more or less time, or unskilled workers would have taken more or less time, or unskilled workers would have been paid more or less than the estimated ones. All these should, if you verify, result in overall 1000 favorable. If we merely stop at this analysis, at this stage, it is 1000 favorable, we will not know it was because of rate difference, it was because of hours that they have used, or which category of workers were more efficient or less efficient, or what was wrong where. We will not come to know unless we go ahead with further third stage, fourth stage, fifth stage analysis. Like in material, you can take corrective measures only once you know that X was adverse, Y was favorable. In which case, in case of usage, it could be price also, isn't it? At this stage, if we just stop here and look for the corrective measures, so what corrective measures do you suggest based on the slide which you have on your screen?
सर एक कंफ्यूजन है
कैलकुलेट की स्पेलिंग गलत लिखी है.
Say it again. दोबारा कहिए.
कैलकुलेट की स्पेलिंग गलत लिखी है.
Sir, you have written the wrong spelling of calculate.
ओके. तो लेकिन आप wrongly calculate मत कीजिएगा उसको. Okay. Is it correct now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
जी बताइए, what corrective measures or what further can we talk about based on the slide which is available on our screen?
So we try to reduce the quantity of X which is used in
Good.
producing the
One of the suggestions or one of the thoughts that may come to your mind should be that let us try to reduce the usage of X, because our estimate was 2000 and we are using 2500. Good. Second,
सर एक कंफ्यूजन है सर इसमें सर.
बताइए.
सर ये जो मटेरियल यूजेस वेरिएंस जो निकाला है, तो सर इसको हम प्राइस से मल्टीप्लाई क्यों करेंगे सर?
अच्छा, यूजेज जो है, आप ये एक सेकंड होल्ड कीजिए. अगर हम ये करें कि हमने 2000 की जगह 2500 यूनिट्स कंज्यूम कर लिए, कैन यू टेक अ डिसीजन ऑन बेस्ड ऑन 500 यूनिट्स और अनलेस यू कन्वर्ट इट इनटू रुपीस? बताइए, आप डिसीजन किस पे लेते हैं? 50 बिल्डिंग, 6 फर्नीचर, 3 गाड़ियां, 4 स्टॉक, या बैलेंस शीट में उनकी वैल्यू लेते हैं?
सर वो तो हम लोग मटेरियल कॉस्ट वेरिएंस के अंडर निकाल लेंगे ना सर.
कॉस्ट वेरिएंस में निकालेंगे. कॉस्ट वेरिएंस में ये आएगा कि कॉस्ट पर कितना असर पड़ रहा, इसमें आएगा कि यूजेज पर कितना असर पड़ रहा है. Everything unless it is converted into rupees cannot be compared with each other.
Then sir it should be 1000.
1000 क्या
Yes,
मतलब?
2000 minus 2500 is equal to 500 into 2 is equal to 1000.
Okay, is make it 1000, 2005, make it 1000, correct, make it 1000, fine. Then next,
Now
this is also This is also,
Then again it is
ये
1000.
भी 1000 होगा.
It will be same.
it is 1000. So what is the result? This variance is, there is no variance, isn't it? But at the same time, when you say there is no variance, you need to analyze it. Unless you analyze, you will not come to know in which compartment or in which area there were deficiencies. Figures have been corrected, fine. Just discuss what we were discussing and take it forward. Okay, what all do you need? Number one, you decided that we should try to minimize, or we should try to control the usage of component X. We should have used 2000, but we are using 2500. What else was the recommendation? What else could you do? What else can you suggest here on in this second line, which I am underlying, or which I am using the bold font? Should we do
Sir,
something here?
price, yes, sir, the price of Y is 2.2 and you have calculated it at rupees 2 only.
Rupees 2 is what? 2.2 is actual, and the formula is standard rate. Look at it once again. What is this 2.2? 2.2 is actual rate. And what does the formula say?
Standard rate.
What is the standard rate?
So 2.
Okay, sir.
2.
Estimated.
Estimate is 2, therefore it is correct. I am asking, do you have any suggestion here to offer, or you think that because it is a favorable variance, we can ignore this? Okay, I'll explain. Even if there is a favorable variance, there is a need to investigate it. There's a need to investigate it. Why there is a need to investigate it? Because your estimate was 3000 and you are using 2500. If you plot this data, if you tabulate this data over a period of 4 or 5 different phases, weekly or quarterly or monthly or yearly, every week, for example, you are making this schedule, and every week you found that this variance has always been favorable. Does this indicate something?
Yes, sir. It
What does this
indicates our estimation was wrong.
Our estimation was wrong. Very true. Our estimation was wrong. Similarly, every time if you get this variance more or less same, 1000, 1000, 1100, 1100, 900, 850, 100, 1150, every week, every phase, in every slot, everything you find the same variance if adverse, that will also be leading you to the conclusion that your estimate was wrong. Why is it possible to arrive at this conclusion or to this in-depth analysis? Only because we have taken third, fourth, and fifth stage of analysis. You did not stop here only, that our variance is standard is actual. At this stage, you realized in each component there's a variance. At this stage, you realized okay, one is because of price, the other one is because of quantity. One is because of taking more hours, the other because of paying more money. Okay. What next? Our estimation was wrong. We need to revise the standard. What else can be thought of in addition to these two that you have talked about? What else can be thought of? Look here. When you say, let us say, you are material usage variance is favorable. Suppose actually how much you are buying it for? 2.2. And what was your estimate?
2 per part. 2 rupees per part.
You are paying more money. It is also possible that this favorable variance is happening because you are buying a superior quality product, as a result of which there has been less wastage. Is it possible or not?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, there can be lot of reading between the lines. Suppose we talk about labor. We know, for example, in the analysis shows that skilled laborers have been more efficient than unskilled laborers or vice versa. A data compiled over a period of time, 3, 4, 5 different durations, can tell you what is the trend. If each time unskilled gives you adverse variance, listen to me. If each time unskilled gives you adverse variance, what is your conclusion?
That the skilled person will not give the
Okay,
adverse variation.
okay, any other answer? My question is clear. Each time unskilled labor gives you adverse variance. What is the conclusion?
Sir, it means that we are getting more work done by unskilled laborers instead of the skilled.
Before you all start answering, you should have asked me which variance, time variance or rate variance. The statement I made, each time unskilled labor gives you adverse variance. So before arriving at any conclusion, before digging further, we must know which variance. Are we paying them more than estimated, or are they taking more time than we estimated? Now let me clarify that they are taking more time than estimated. Their unskilled rate variance, unskilled hour variance or time variance has always been a negative or adverse. What do you do, or what would you do? You would naturally find out the reasons. So what could be the reasons for their negative variance each time? They are taking more time than required. It may be because there has been lack of supervision, because your skilled labor or highly skilled labor is taking less time. That means they are not properly supervising. Instead of supervising for 10 hours, they are supervising for 5 hours. Therefore, their variance is favorable, and here the variance is adverse. Then there can be several things, as I have been saying, that one can read between the lines. If you look at material variance and labor variance closely over a long period of time, material and labor, and you find both of them opposite to each other, one may think or one may investigate that poor quality of material is leading to more time that the workers are spending on, and vice versa. So all would depend on, number one, calculation, number two, tabulation over some period of time, 4 or 5 phases, or 4 or 5 weeks, 4 or 5 fortnights, or 4 or 5 months, whatever may be the case, and then reading that data and then analyzing that data. Then before we proceed, at this stage itself, there can be broadly two classifications of all these variances. Broadly, two classifications of all these variances. One, controllable, and the other slightly less controllable, or you can say somehow uncontrollable. What could be the controllable components in this case? Rate or usage?
So usage.
So usage.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Quantity is controllable, hours are controllable, rates somehow to some extent are not controllable because rates are market driven. Let us talk about material. Quantity, if you have a good machine, if you have good system, if you have good engineers, if you have good layout, if you have several things that you will learn in production management, you can you can save on material. How about prices? How would you exercise control on prices? Although they are market driven, but still, if your rate
Some
is
bulk purchase.
sorry,
Bulk purchases.
correct.
In
Number
case
one
of
is bulk purchase. True. Number two, timely purchase. If you buy hurriedly, so naturally you end up paying more prices. So bulk purchases, timely purchases. Then if you schedule your production correctly, you know at what point of time you will require how many units, you can plan in advance. Maybe giving some cash, availing some cash discount, paying upfront, paying timely, all these will result to some extent in controlling your price variance as well.
Sir,
Same goes-
avoiding wastage.
yes, avoiding wastage, correct. Avoiding wastage was related to your quantity variance or usage variance. Here we are talking about the price or rate variance.
So can we say hiring more skilled workers in comparison to unskilled
We,
workers?
because no, this perhaps will be, I mean, a bit of change in the mix is possible, but not total change, because when you decide to produce something, you have standard parameters. When we say standard parameters, we know that in order to deliver or in order to produce this particular thing, how many hours of this particular category will be required. You think of services. Look at service which you avail every day. Let us say department. So department, how many types of labor force department has? How many types? 5, 6, 7 types.
Yes, sir.
You have administrative positions, chairman, dean. You have teaching positions. Within teaching, you have got 3 classifications: professors, associate professors, assistant professors. Then you have support staff. Within that, you have classification: some section officer, some upper division clerk, some lower division clerk, some safai wala, some security man, some gardener. When you said, why it came to my mind, when you said by changing the mix of labor. So not everybody will be required to put in same hours. For example, say I spend 1 hour. How many hours does Ajmal spend in the department? Our peon? Say 8 hours, isn't it? So their mix cannot be changed. For example, the department is a commercial undertaking. The head of the department cannot think that instead of Ajmal, if I spend 8 hours and he spends 1 hour, the cost will be more or less.
So more.
Cost will
More,
be
sir.
huge. Yes, cost will be huge. That means each category of human resource, each category of worker will be estimated, will have a particular estimate that should require this much of time. And within that, little bit of changes are possible, but not drastic changes, which will not be cost effective. Okay, so we were talking about the controllable and uncontrollable, or slightly lesser controllable, less controllable. So we will divide them into these two and then see the reasons. Once we know the reasons, then only we will come to know how to exercise the control over them. Further, at each stage, these need to be mathematically reconciled before we proceed. Third stage, see first stage, reconcile at second stage, ultimately nil. Second stage, reconcile at third stage, because each is giving you 500 minus the 500 adverse, 1000 favorable, 500 adverse. Same thing that you saw here, AFA, AFA. So at third stage, it is analyzed. Fourth stage, material usage. Then within material, usage and quantity. Within usage, one component, second component, third component, fourth component. So you will, once you realize total material usage variance, once you calculate total material, total labor variance, calculate labor time and rate variance on your own. Labor time for unskilled, labor time for semi-skilled, labor rate for unskilled, labor rate for semi-skilled. What should be this answer? This answer should be equal to 1000 favorable. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now when I say analyzing them, now open page number 94 of the teaching material that was available on the website. Page number 94. Have you opened page number 94?
Yes, sir.
You will find a chart here. This chart explains the verification process. And what is the verification process or reconciliation, which you can call? You see on the top of it. Oh, I think I should have given them some serial numbers. Okay, anyway, the first one is total cost variance. Write down here as serial number 1. Total cost variance within bracket, write number 1. Then next, there are 3 parts of it: material, labor, overhead. Are you with me now?
Yes.
For
Sir,
material,
can you please repeat?
okay, you have total cost variance. Against total cost variance, using your pen, write within bracket 1. Within bracket you write 1. Then material cost variance you write 2. Labor cost variance you write 3. Overhead cost variance you write 4. So on top you have written 1. Below that you have written 2, 3 and 4. Now when I say reconciliation, 1 will be equal to how much? 1 will be equal to 2 plus 3 plus 4.
4.
Correct? Now against 2, you have 2 more: rate variance and usage variance. You write here 5 and 6. 5 for rate and 6 for usage. So your 4 will be equal to,
So 2 will be
5
equal
plus
to
6.
5 plus 6. Correct. Your 4 will be equal to 5 plus 6. Now against
2
usage
is equal
variance,
to 0.
2 will be equal to
Yes, sir.
2 will be equals to
2
5
will
plus
be equal
6.
to 2 will be equal to 5 and 6.
6.
Against 6 you have 2 more: mixed variance and yield variance. Right? 7 and 8. So 6 will be equal to
7 plus 8.
7 plus 8. Now if you look at this chart, continue looking at this chart, look at rate variance. What number did you write in rate variance? 5.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Below rate variance, nothing is given. Below rate variance, nothing is given. But below usage variance, 2 more classification are available. What could be the reason for this? The reason for this is a rate is one only for a product, but there can be several components of a product. Usage can be for one component A, another component B, another component C, another component D. In service industry, for example, in a bank, you have pure banking services. Saving is one, deposit is one, loan is one, commercial loan is one, overdraft is one, bank guarantee is yet another one, selling IPO is yet another one, issuing insurance policy is yet another one, and so on and so forth. Each will have a labor, each will have human resource, each will cost differently, each will have different profit. Therefore, to exercise better control on the cost, we go to different stages of analysis. So similarly, if each of these variances are serially numbered, you will find that reconciliation will always be possible. From the bottom most, last is rest of the capacity variance. You see the last heading? What is that?
Yes, sir.
Rest of the capacity. If rest of the capacity is added to calendar variance, it should be equal to overhead capacity variance. If overhead capacity is added to overhead efficiency, it will be equal to overhead volume variance. If volume variance is added to budgeted expenditure variance, it will be fixed overhead variance. Fixed overhead, when added to variable, it will become overall overhead variance. If overhead, labor, material, 3 are added, it becomes overall cost variance. So this is what when we reconcile, we have this situation. For each, there is a formula how to calculate. You should not be scared of looking several formula. Look at this one: standard minus actual into standard rate when it comes to usage. When it comes to rate, you will not multiply it by standard rate, you will multiply it by actual. Why
Actual
will be
rate, sir.
why will be actual? Because it is actual that you are paying. So see, look at these. I have provided you. I'll give you. I'll send you this presentation after making certain changes here. The formula I have provided. Overall cost variance is equal to budgeted expenditure minus actual expenditure. overall cost variance is also equal to material, labor, overhead. Material variance is equal to material rate, material usage. Rate is equal to standard minus actual into actual usage. Usage is equal to standard usage minus actual usage into standard rate. Like this formula has been provided for everyone. And how many of these are there? 9, 16, 22. Okay. Okay. So these have been provided to you. Now look at page number 93. Same, just one page before. Material, labor, overhead are given. Standard data is given, actual data is given, and variance is given. So variance is how much? 6,440 adverse. But this has been verified below. This has been verified below, that how do you arrive at material price variance? How do you arrive at material usage variance? How do you arrive at everything that I have just now talked about in one slide, just the same with the different figures, has been worked out on page number 93. So you on your own try to work out, try to see if the calculations are okay, and you have understood these calculations given on page number 93 and also on page number 95, 93 and 95, 96. On 95 there is a small correction. Page number 95, look at this second paragraph, labor efficiency variance. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Labor efficiency variance. What is mentioned there?
Standard mix plus
Standard plus standard
Revised standard
Plus
mix.
revised standard
and
mix
to standard
into
rate.
standard rate.
Okay, so then there's a mistake here. Standard mix plus should not be there. It should be standard mix minus revised standard mix. Minus. That is, yes. So accordingly, look at these solutions. You will be in a position to follow them. If there is any issue anywhere you are not able to follow, you post in the group. I'll be able to answer. So what you are expected to do with respect to this, look at these formulae which are available here. I'll be sending you this evening after making certain corrections here, or may I'll see if something is required. We'll send it, and then you try the solution which are given here. Also try to find out labor variance, time as well as the rate, which I have not worked out. I just showed you one illustration. Rest only figures will differ. Otherwise calculation will be the same. Or the then here what we intended was in the overall this one syllabus, that meaning how do we calculate, what is the variance, why does it arise, how can we show it in the mark chart calculation. I've explained analysis of variance, how do we analyze. All that we have discussed was this only. And then report writing. Report writing means that how do we present the summary before management for taking decisions. So you write them, I mean you prepare it in the form of report, why a particular variance is. See, first you calculate, then you find out the reasons, then you recommend, then you suggest certain changes or certain improvements to be made, and anything else that you are able to read between the lines. The data, like your estimate were wrong, or like a difference between, suppose when I say reading between the line, there is no limit to which we can explain. Suppose every time labor variance is positive and material variance is negative. Every time labor variance is favorable and material variance is adverse. What conclusions do we draw?
So we are using less material than the estimated one, or we are buying at a lower price than the estimated one.
We are buying substandard material, and in an otherwise situation, we may buy substandard material, resulting in huge labor cost, isn't it? So there are several relationships can be found or can be formed rather, looking at the data which you have compiled. So naturally, to compile data, you need how to compile that data and how to reconcile that data. Reconciliation is necessary because reconciliation confirms that your calculations are correct. So this was more or less something I had to say about the variance analysis. When we are meeting tomorrow, I'll be available for clarifying your doubts on the remaining 10 classes that we have held in the recent past. So you revise whatever has been discussed in the recent past and then see what questions you have. I'll appreciate if you can post the questions before in the group so that I can allocate time properly. See, if I do not know the questions, you can ask instantly also, but if knowing it gives us an idea of how much time is to be spent in clarifying which one. So when we meet tomorrow, I'll take up those questions. You may now leave the meeting because you have to join another class. So we will be meeting tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you, sir.